Hey, it's Aaron with the Mowing in the Dark Lawn Care Podcast.
Hey, this is Tony's Lawn Care Talk.
Hey guys, Cameron here with the Lawn Care Life in Missouri.
Hey guys, this is Dan White with Lawn Care Unscripted.
What up guys, it's Phil with Phil's Lawn Care.
And you're listening to the Turf Nerds. Greg.
Say that again. So what was Phil doing to you, Greg? Not the Phil Shirkin from Phil's Lawn Care, but a different Phil, right?
Yeah, Phil over at Wheels and Blades. I had to take my mower in. I thought I blew my engine, and turns out it was my clutch. And the clutch just apparently disintegrated, and I didn't even know what all happened to it. But the guy called me from the shop, and he says, "Hey, Greg, I got your engine all torn apart here." And he's trying to spook me like this is going to be a huge repair. And I was expecting it. I just figured, okay, I blew the engine. And so he's trying to scare me a little bit and tease me. And I'm going, okay, all right, yeah, so. And then he finally goes, no, I'm just kidding with you. It was your clutch. And so I think he was almost disappointed that I wasn't all shaken up by it, but I was expecting my engine to be blown. So.
Well, you had texted me Friday night, and you said, I think my engine just blew. And I said, no way. I said, check the air filter. But then turns out it was a clutch because we were just talking before the call, Greg. Clutch on my multi-force went last year. Praise God, I barely hit the warranty window, but I was still able to drive the mower up in the trailer. Apparently yours got to the top of the driveway and it was done.
Yeah, I was at the bottom of the hill and in the client's lawn, and I was able to get it up to the top of up to the driveway, and as soon as I got onto the driveway, it just stopped. Really, and the mower wouldn't start. It just shut off. So I wound up. I had my 88-year-old neighbor or client was trying to help me get it onto my trailer. He was actually pretty smart because he grabbed a board and he was trying, because you can't steer that thing, and so he's grabbing a board and he's trying to, for lack of a better word, use it like a fulcrum. So when I would push, we'd get it, and he would kind of. And he was kind of levering it. Like leverage. That's what it would be. Yeah. And levering. And so he was doing that to turn it because it wasn't angled correctly to get up on the trailer. So he's kind of pushing a little bit, turning it a little bit with that board. And I'm trying to push it. So it was funny because we'd move it about a foot, and then it would want to start rolling back a little bit. So we had the wheel chock that I'd throw behind the wheel, and then we'd start over again. So we'd move it like a foot at a time, and then we started getting it up on the trailer, and then it was just no way that we were going to be able to push it. So I happened to look down, and I saw one of my clients down there with a buddy of his, and I went down the street and said, "Hey, can you give me a hand trying to push this thing up?" And so we were able to push it up onto my trailer, and that was hard. I was trying to figure out anything I could. I'd called my son and asked where he was and when he was going to be back home, and he was going to have a buddy come over and help me get it up. So it was hard to get up. So, but we were able to do it. And I took it in and fortunately found out it was a clutch. Still pretty expensive.
Praise
repair,
God.
Yeah.
Oh man. Because when you said that, Greg, like that scared me because you've taken care of that Bobcat, and that's been nothing but a workhorse for you. And you just recently paid it off, didn't you?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks. It had paid
That's
it off.
usually how it works, doesn't it?
Yep, paid it off at the end of May. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. How could I blow the engine 2 weeks after I paid for it? And so fortunately, it's. I thought maybe I'm checking the oil and thinking, there's no way this can't be that bad. And so fortunately, it was a clutch. It was like a $600 repair. And if I would have tried to do that myself, I would have never gotten that thing off. It was a mess. So, and two guys knowing what they were doing, and it took a while to get the thing off. So that would have been an all-day job for me, and I'm not even sure if I would have done it right.
You would have probably done it right. When I took my clutch off my multi-force last year, guys, but as Greg said, Phil, he was ranking on that clutch for 2 hours trying to get it off. It probably took me a good hour to get the clutch off of my multi-force because I guess how it just screws into the bottom of the engine of the crankshaft down there. I think over time it just kind of how do you say it? Kind of like glues and gets stuck in there. It's
fused
like
itself.
Yeah, it'll fuse itself in there. But back to what you're saying, pushing that mower, you just got to put the as you already did, you put the mower in free push, you disable the hydros. It's still really hard to push that mower around. I've almost thrown off my back, Greg. I think I can take the bragging rights. I've got my mower far more stuck than you have. I've sent Greg some pretty funny pictures of my multi-force being stuck. Like this happened 2 years ago. Mowing a lawn. Nice lady. She doesn't care how the lawn looks. It was wet. Well, apparently this was the grass didn't look that wet. I went right into a mud quicksand. Then I got the mower, like the multi-force, basically buried. Then I had my friend Ryan with Metro Lawn Care. I do snow at the buddies. He came over with his dingo and pulled my multi-force out. It was a hideous picture. But I disabled the hydros, and you can kind of do a deal where if you disable the hydros and get off the mower, you can kind of twist the wheels around and kind of move it. But those mowers, I don't care what it is, Greg, they're really hard to move, aren't they?
Yeah, they're tough. I remember getting mine Bobcat stuck. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Got it stuck in a ditch. I was going along, and it was just wet enough that all of a sudden it just kicked out on me. Back end just kicked out, and I slid right down, and the back end just slid down the bottom of the ditch, and I was not getting that out. And so I had to disconnect my trailer from the truck and back my truck into the thing, and I had a towing strap in and just put the thing in neutral and slowly pulled it out. So,
well, you took the words out of my mouth. Greg just gave you guys a great tip. I was just going to say, I bought a couple of Rhino straps on Amazon. Bring tow straps with you. So if you get your mower stuck, put it on, just hop off to your mower, put it on the truck, and then use your truck to pull the mower out. And that worked for a jiff. I mean, that worked for you, didn't it?
Yeah, it worked great. All I did was I just put the it's got the loop on it. I just hung it over the just put it over the tow hitch, and then I looped it through first around the mower, and then stuck the other end over the ball, and was able to slowly pull. It actually came up pretty easy with that 3500 I have. It didn't have an issue with it, so it pulled up pretty easy.
Greg's, yeah, that's where you have the advantage with that truck, Greg. That thing, I don't think the gas mileage is similar to mine, but your truck has a lot more power than my little puny 1500. I'm actually going to be upgrading the shocks on it too. I think I talked about this on the show. Maybe not. Got the coil springs upgraded on it last year. Now I'm doing the shocks because when I put that 49 bag pallet of salt on my truck last year, that just I noticed how low it took the shocks. I'm like, all right, got to get the shocks upgraded. And he said he could do it for less than 300 at the end of June, Greg. But it's been kind of a peaceful Father's Day for me, and the grass, you'd have to agree, at least mine are starting to burn up a little bit.
Mine have been in pretty good shape. I don't think I've seen any that are burned up. I've seen some that aren't growing that much, and those are typically the lawns that the folks haven't even turned their sprinklers on yet. Speaking of sprinklers, we want to talk about that. I don't know if I told you the story on that. Remember the one that we hit the sprinkler line?
I was going to help Greg with that, and then I had a nephew's grad party. It turned out it was at 1:00 on a Saturday. I'm the dummy, so I realized 5 years of marriage, you got to run more things through your wife, and I got to go upstairs, Greg, and look at the calendar when we have different events. But was this an ordeal? What happened?
So I get there. Guy turns on the sprinklers. It was kind of an ordeal trying to get the sprinklers turned on because the guy didn't know how to do it,
right? Yeah, they're like, "Hey, do you know how to do it?" You're like,
No, I just went next door because I knew his neighbor knew how to do them because he had done them last year for the previous guy. So anyway, we got the sprinklers turned on and we're looking at it, and all of a sudden we see this big bubble, and right where the water was.
Oh, baby.
And yep. So I pulled out my sod lifter, which is a great tool, by the way. I don't know if you have one of those, Evan.
I don't.
Get yourself a sod lifter. It's my favorite tool. And anyway, I got the sod lifter out and started cutting, and was able to flip it over and take a look. And guess what? Remember, we thought we didn't hit it. Well, we wound up hitting their sprinkler line. But
it must have not have been deep. There's no way.
Exactly. I'm sitting there and I look at it, and I turned to the guy and I said, "All right, so yes, we did hit it. I can do the repair for you. I found 4 holes in the line."
Yeah.
And I said, I can do the repair for you. I said, but you've got an underlying problem here. And he said, what's that? I said, this is supposed to be 8 to 12 inches down.
Yep.
And I said, your guys put the sod on top of your sprinkler line. And so it was, sod is typically about 2.5 inches thick, 2.5 to 3 inches thick.
Were they blind doing it?
No, they were lazy. And so I said, you've got your underlying issue is your sprinkler lines are buried, are too shallow.
Were they really like 3
I'll do
inches
the
in?
repair for it. I'll do the repair for you because we did do it. We did do the damage, but your problem is this is too shallow, and you're going to have a problem somewhere else along the line.
Yeah.
Again, yeah. So if anybody came out to do it again, if we did it again, guess what? We wouldn't do that again.
No, we're not aerating that anymore. You've directed me away from that neighborhood.
But something about that, though, that amazes me is the fact that we didn't hit any other lines in that yard, just that one spot. But those lines could be all in perimeter. So if you were just going around, I don't know if the sprinklers, if there's anything in the middle of the yard.
Must have just been a soft area, but those are they weren't deep at all.
But we were going down 3 inches, and it was about 2.5 inches thick of sod. So that's where we hit it. And that one was cutting right across the lawn. It was an odd spot for a sprinkler line to be. And it's only a side yard, so it wasn't on the perimeter as well. So anyway, I told the guy, I said, look, I'll do the repair. And he says, no, you know what? Let me contact who I need to contact and see if he can get them back out there and do the repair correctly.
Oh, wow.
So they're going to try and
you
see if
lucked
they can
out then.
Yeah, they're going to try and see if they can get the sprinkler company to come out and do the job correctly. So
that was probably a kind of a. Oh, oops, that was my phone. Sorry, that was probably kind of a. Turn this off. That's weird. That was probably kind of a relief for you, wasn't it? That's that's
yeah. It was. It would have been an easy repair. It was about a 4-foot section that all I had to do was cut 2 ends. Go get a couple of what do you call them, the splicers, and another. Get a 4-foot section and piece it together pretty quick. So it would have taken an hour to do the repair. But I told the guy, I said, this wouldn't take me long at all, but you're going to have another issue here just because these aren't deep enough. And I said, if these aren't deep enough, the other ones probably aren't either. So,
well, Greg, you know what doesn't take long and has no issues? Before we get into the meat and the potatoes, we're talking all things mowers today because we've had a wonderful opportunity to, it sounded like I was from New York, wonderful opportunity to demo a lot of mowers. Is Ezra McCarthy over at Green Frog Web Design does not take a long time at all to build you a single page solo operator website. So hop on that, Greg. And then what's the other thing that we want to tell the listeners about that we keep beating them over the face over? Well, at least this one part of the show.
Beating their face? Yes.
Like that.
Are we talking about the expo?
Yeah, we are getting excited for that. I know all the LCBU guys, but we got our code. I forgot our promo code. What is it, Greg?
I think that would be Turf Nerds, one word.
Who are those? Who are those guys?
I've seen them before. They look familiar. It's almost like looking in a mirror.
Hello, this is Greg.
And Turf Nerds. We got the expo coming up, and lots of good things going on at the expo, guys. If you have an opportunity to go there, use Turf Nerds, and you'll get a 50% off your registration. I think it's $30 right now. Or
is it? Yeah, I haven't checked at it. Yeah,
I haven't looked at the prices recently. You know what? While we're talking, we can take a look at it and see. But anyway, it's funny for Father's Day. By the way, happy 2025 Father's Day to you, Evan.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I've been a dad for 2 years now.
Yes, and I've been 27 now? 27 years as a father. So
you know a thing or two.
Yes, I've seen a few things come through. So, whoops, that's not what I want. Attendee, let's see get tickets. What are they running at right now?
I haven't checked it.
With the expo, remember, guys, there's lots of educational opportunities there for you, and lots of things you can do. You can get licensed in some areas. You know what? It wants me to register.
I really don't think guys know this, but Greg, it's pretty funny. I've been not stuck with. I've really only mowed with Toro and Exmark and my Cub Cadet 15 years doing this, and it's kind of funny. Praise God. Part of it because of the podcast, but you were on Facebook and you saw this still mower reel, and that kind of led into a pretty nice opportunity for us, didn't it?
Yeah. We it's funny. There was on as Evan said, I was looking on reels and I had this thing pop up that said you can get a steel mower. And as long as you give them a review, then they'll give it to you for free. And I thought, this doesn't make any sense right now. And so I reached out to Steel and asked if this was legit. And they did follow up with me. I was kind of surprised. It took them a couple days and finally got a response. And they said, no, that it's not legit. We've seen this before, and we've tried to let people know it's not legit. But I don't know if many of you guys know that the Steel launched their mower, but it was kind of a quiet launch. They didn't just do a huge launch with it. So it was really more or less of a quiet launch, and because they just wanted to slowly introduce it. But when I talked to the guy, he said, I'll tell you what, let's get you the name of somebody that we can have you guys do a demo. And so he got me in contact with what was it? Not one of the dealers, but they got me in touch with one of the suppliers that supplies the dealers. And then he got me in touch with one of the dealers. And so they reached out to us and let us know that Burdick Street Equipment over in Oxford would be willing to let us demo one of the Steel riders, zero-turn riders that's just been launched.
And we've been able to demo that, Greg. It's funny. So we went up there 3 weeks ago, and we got it, and it's a rider. So it's the Still 60. Okay, well, Still RZ 960 IK, guys, and this is quite. It's quite the mower. It's huge, and I kind of forgot, Greg, because we've all kind of gotten on over the dark side of the stand-on mower game. When we both looked at this, we were both shaking our heads. It was quite it's quite the tank when we first saw it, wasn't it?
It's a big fella, and but it's got that 38.5 horse on it too, doesn't it? Or 38 or 38.5?
It's a 38 and a half. It's the Kawasaki FX 1000V engine, and it's a really nice engine. But shout out to Tyler there. I think, isn't he one of the managers at Burdick Street? Well, he gave it to us, had 2 hours on it, and I took it home. I was mowing with it for about 3 days. It was actually cutting pretty well. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Still partnered with Briggs & Stratton in 2022, which Ferris owns, and they entered it into the zero-turn market. They didn't actually develop a mower from scratch. They just they're produced in the same facility, which makes the Ferris mowers and which makes the Still mowers unique is their LED lights and USB chargers, and apparently their decks are customized with it. But a Still mower is basically is a Ferris chassis, and it's basically just a Ferris that's orange and white. But Greg, I've noticed it. I mean, it going from a 26.5 horsepower up to a 38.5, big difference. This thing's a screamer. Cut well. Didn't quite discharge as far as I like with the multi-force, nor did it process the grass. Even with the horsepower, it was kind of throwing the grass out in sheets, whereas the multi-force would just throw it out in one big giant. It was projecting it. Oddly enough, the multi-force was projecting it farther. That's because I think they didn't have the deck pitched the right way for cool season grass, and I thought the blades were mid-lit, but I was still pleased with the overall ergonomics. And I mean, it striped well, it cut okay, but turns out a couple days in, a bolt on the side of the deck got kind of loose, so I brought it back up there. They fixed it for us, and now we have the mower again, and I'm going to get some more footage of it so you guys can see it. But overall, pretty pleased with it, but I don't really necessarily know if I'd want if I would want the mower, Greg. It's almost too big.
It's a big fella. I mean, and the reason I know I'm familiar with that is because last year I had a Ferris. When I had to take mine into the shop one time, they gave me a Ferris as a demo, which I'll tell you what, as a rider, that was the most comfortable rider I've ever been on. It was very comfortable. It's got the shocks in the front, and that was really impressive. It's just that it's a big mower, and watching you trying to put it in your trailer, and even when I put mine in, because it was basically the same mower. Yep. When I put that in my mower, it took up a lot of space. So for that mower, I mean, you can get away with a 7-foot a 7.0 wide trailer, but you really wanted that 8.5 foot that just makes it a little more comfortable and a little less pressure on you.
Yeah, I was backing into the trailer with this still, and it was pretty tight fit, and it's like you're riding on a cloud. But before this still, because I've been kind of in the market, I was just investigating other mowers. Shout out to Cameron Duncan with the Lawn Care Life in
Mozeri.
He runs Wright mowers. I think he runs Ferris as well, and I've kind of wanted to try one of the Wright standards. So there's another distributor out here. I just sent him an email. It was actually through Wright. And sent them an email. It's called Pace. They just distribute mowers for Wright, Ferris, and Skag, and they hooked me up. It was supposed to be for like one day, but I only got one lawn out of it. It was the Wright Standard ZK61, 40 horsepower, had 50 hours on it. Apparently, the high efficiency fuel pump was going, Greg, and here's how it sounded. This is just idling here right now, and then watch I engage a PTO. Sounds like it's not going anywhere, but no. I found it really interesting that the fuel pump was going and it had 50 hours on it, but I cut one lawn with it, and I was very impressed with the Wright Standard ZK61. So I'm going to get an opportunity. I think this upcoming week I was talking to the guy, his name is Tony, who dropped off the mower. He drives all over the state of Michigan, letting people demo their Wrights, Ferrises, and Skags. And he said they still hadn't put the pump on because they were waiting for it, shipping. Who knows that? But I found it interesting with the ZK61, Greg, that the engine it floats with the deck. So when you raise the deck up and down to adjust the height, the engine would move up and down too. I don't necessarily know if I like that, but I did like how it discharged the grass and everything was money. So what happened was I really demoed it for one lawn. I texted Tony. He came and picked it up, and he actually dropped off a brand new Ferris Z3X stand-on mower, 37 horsepower Vanguard. Same with the Wright. That was a 40 horsepower Vanguard. Striped great, just cut okay, just like the still. It was built very well. Problem is though, Greg, they had the deck height adjustment on the left-hand side, so it was impossible to feather because I'm so used to holding my left hand on both of the throttle levers and then feathering with the right hand. It was just bizarre, but that stand-on mower was a really Z3X. Tony at Pace said it's one of the hottest mowers on the market right now. I don't know how true that is, but guys really like it. It was like you were cutting on a cloud. So I think what Ferris does have right, Greg, is their suspension. But as you know, they're heavy mowers, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. It's just that's a rider. That wasn't a standard, correct?
That was a standard. It was literally brand new.
It was a standard.
Yeah,
okay.
like he felt bad, so he brought me a Ferris Z3X that still had the manual and the bag attached to it. The thing was a beauty, but my big gripe though was they had all the deck stuff on the left side, and it was impossible to fit. Well, that's just me. I would have to I guess get used to.
Yeah, have to get used to it.
Switch.
If it was the other way when you first started, it would be easy for you to do it. So now you're used to doing it the one way, and you can't really think to do it the other way. It's like flipping. It's like trimming. You say you can't trim. You can only trim what, left-handed or right-handed? I can't remember.
I'm a left-handed trimmer. That's it. But don't you do it both ways?
Yeah, I can. I switch both ways. I am a little bit better probably going left-handed because of the way when you're walking along a edging. When you're going along bedding, going to the left.
Oh yeah,
I can do it. I do that better than if I have to go to the right on some things. But I switch back and forth all the time, and but I'm probably 55-45 on left-handed to right, or 60-40. I'm not sure.
You know where you learned that from?
Competence.
You know where you learned that from, Greg?
I used to work at the Country Club of Lansing when I was in college.
You were just adept with that. I can't even do that. I'm so just strictly lefty with stuff. You would laugh at me trying to trim right-handed, Greg. You could film it. I'd butcher everything.
Well, you didn't like my edger because I've got that curved shaft edger.
Oh, yeah.
And you hated that. That was funny because you had to use that edger one time, and you could not. You were still trying to use it left-handed.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember you were kind of whiny about that day.
There's a couple things.
What's that one that we have on there?
Oh yeah, here they got the crying guy. I was like this. And then when Greg saw me do it, Greg was like this. So with the curved shaft, I think I was shooting dirt and grass all on me because the way it was set up. Because I'm left-handed. I think
you were
all
trying
these
to do it
equipment
lefty. Yeah.
aren't like all the handhelds. I think they are built for right-handed people, aren't they? Because if you think about it, the trimmers spin counterclockwise, and the way you would hold it, which that would mean that the grass would shoot away from you. But I'm left-handed, and still, the head spins counterclockwise, but it still shoots all into my shins. So like I'll come home, and Hannah would be like, "Man, did you like whip down a field?" I'd be like, "No, it's just grass that was 5 inches tall."
Yeah, you just had to stand on the other side, but you didn't know how to do it.
No,
technically,
apparently, I don't know how to do it.
You weren't comfortable. You weren't comfortable doing it that way. So it's all you had to do is move to the other side.
Yeah, but so it was funny. So what happened was when I gave the still mower back after only using it for 3 days, I have it back now. But this would have been 2 weeks ago. Tyler over at Burdick Street, he let me demo the Skag 61 V-Ride XL. Greg, this thing built like a champ. Really, really nice. 12-gallon gas tank, 38.5 horsepower engine. It was a Kawasaki. It was that FX 1000V. 12-gallon. It was incredibly fast. Only problem, though, Greg, as I was sending you pictures, it was leaving a really weird line and stripe between the first and second spindle. I think maybe the blades were a tad short. It was almost an uncut piece of grass. Could have been when they installed and actually put the holes in for the spindle that they were off. Tyler at Burdick Street says that there was I guess apparently last year, there was a good batch of the Skag 61 V-Rides that went out that were apparently defective, but other than that, I really liked Skags. I never tried them before, until now. I think he's gonna let us demo the Skag Cheetah coming up here. It goes 18 miles an hour after the still. But the only thing I tried messing around with the baffles. It was still kind of shooting the grass out in sheets. I think the Multiforce has the really best discharge distance. But what I think is in a second with the discharge distance, Greg, is we've gotten to know our buddy over at Bobcat Mowers, Ron Scheffler, and why don't you tell everyone what opportunities we've been afforded with Ron, because it surely has been a blessing.
Yeah, it has been. It's Ron is the senior product manager over at Bobcat, and we met Ron at the expo last year. Had an opportunity to sit down and talk with him. Spent about 25 minutes, half hour doing a show with him.
Yeah, but you kept talking, and you realized some good things from him though too.
Oh, yeah. Great guy. And so we had an opportunity to get to know Ron a little bit. We've been staying in touch with him. And then he reached out to us and said, "Hey, Greg, what do you want? Do you want a 52 or a 48 inch to try out?" And so they wound up sending us the Bobcat ZS 4000, the 52 inch. Because that's the one we thought we'd work with best. And so we've had an opportunity to work with that recently. And it's been really nice. They delivered it to Wheels and Blades, my guys over in Commerce, Michigan.
Those guys love Greg.
Yeah, they thanks to those guys for receiving it for us, and they gave us a call. It said your mower's in. We were able to get it out, and we've had a couple issues with it, but we think that may be resolved now. So we've been pleased with going with that. Go ahead, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I like how Ron was kind of on it. I think there might have been an issue with this machine to start, but I think they took care of us, and Ron was really great with the correspondence on it, Greg. And it's cutting much better now. Did they say it was something with maybe the drive belt on it was loose because it was leaving kind of a funky line, but now that line is basically eliminated, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they said that the drive belt was loose, and they wound up taking a look at it. And there are a couple other things that, for some reason, they just had something going on with it. We thought one of the blades was bent as well, and so they wound up sending us some new blades. And then we took it back into Wheels and Blades. They took a look at it because we weren't sure what it was, but we knew it wasn't cutting right. And they adjusted I think they replaced the belt for us, the drive belt for us. And then I just picked it back up the other day, and it looks like it's cutting really nice for us now.
Yeah, Greg sent me a couple pictures, and I couldn't really see the lines. I think when we got the mower, it had 11 hours on it, and I put 20 hours on it, and I was getting a little frustrated because I was OCD, but aside from that one thing with the deck, apparently some dude in HR had it, and to their defense, I mean, if it's kind of a test mower, Greg, I mean, I'm not surprised if someone hit something or someone went crazy. But it's a really nice and well built machine. And what you and I have been going back and forth, Greg, is so it's got the 26 horsepower engine on a 52-inch deck, and that's a really nice power to deck ratio because we both have 60 horsepowers on mine's 26 and a half, and yours is a 26 horsepower deck. And I just felt like this.
We have 60-inch and 61-inch deck.
Yeah, well, 60 and
You
61.
said 60 horsepower.
Greg is. Did I say 60 horsepower? Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay, we both have 60.
yeah.
Basics.
That would be an
basically
interesting
60-inch
mower.
decks and the same horsepower. Okay, half a horsepower doesn't make a difference. Anyways, the power to deck ratio, Greg, is what we had both noticed. Is I think that the 52 with the 26 horsepower, it processes and it cuts the grass better than our regular everyday mowers.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really liked about it is just the way it was processing. It was throwing the grass better. Now, one of the things that we did, they were considering whether or not the blades that were on the 52, because I was talking to Tom over at Wheels and Blades about this, because I said, I think this throws better than my 61. And he said, well, what blades do you have on your 61? And I said, gee, I don't know. I switch back and forth between blades so much just because I have so many different kinds of blades that I've been trying out, but I'm not going to throw them out just because I might not like them. And anyway, so he was thinking it could be a blade issue, so that if we could, are they high lift blades, super high lift blades that are on the 52 right now versus what I have on my 60. But you were thinking it was throwing pretty well though, right?
I think that even from day one when I got the mower and I started cutting and I didn't like the cut, I had at least appreciated it. It looks like it was throwing really far on a 52 with the 26 and a half horsepower. And that's just because it's a smaller deck and the blades are able to maintain better blade tip speed. There's less grass to really process through. And in doing so, if you think about it, sure, you're losing 8 inches though too, but you're going to do less double cuts and it's less strain on your engines. And you made this comment, Greg, and you even told Ron over at Bobcat that, and I've even told Toro, it's like, why did you guys underpower your multi-force? Like you've seen the multi-force, Greg. It's a multi-force. It's meant for multiple applications, not just mowing, plowing, doing mulch. We've been adept with that. Who was the guy over at Toro that decided to put a 26 and a half horsepower on a mower that's supposed to be a workhorse? At least put something close to a 30. And you had kind of mentioned that to Ron over at Bobcat as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I had mentioned it to him, and we were going to talk about it a little bit further. We're going to have an opportunity to sit down and talk with him a little bit again in a few weeks or so. But I think the bigger, go big or go home kind of thing is if you can put a remember we were talking at the beginning where I thought I blew my mower. I was already talking to those guys at Wheels and Blades about what's the biggest engine I can put back on this Bobcat.
Yeah.
And I was already looking at trying to figure it out. And they were saying, when I talked to Tom, he said, we could put a bigger engine on. It's the muffler that's going to be the issue, is how are we going to be able to do that muffler and such. So anyway, that was the one thing we were talking about, but heck, I think you had the 38 on that Skag. Is that what that was? Or was it a 40?
Yeah, it was a 38 and a half on the Skag 61. I really liked everything laid out with the Skag. I still think where Toro beats every machine out there, unless there's one. It's the deck depth. The deeper the deck, the better you can process thicker grass. And the Skag has kind of an angled deck, and it was shooting it pretty far, but it was still kind of throwing it there in sheets. And I think the blades, they said they're high lift, but they weren't that high lifty. Toro has, I buy all my blades, guys, Toro OEM, and they're high lift blades. Like the wings are nice, but I was talking to Greg. I bought I bought a set of super high lifts from Oregon and put them on my multi-force, and I was showing Greg, and this wing was much even higher than my Toro OEMs, and I only cut probably for half a day with it because the problem was these blades were too heavy, and I'm kind of OCD. It's like, well, they designed these mowers, and the mower comes with these blades on them. I don't want to put a heavier set on, even though I know the spindles are over beefed up and overpowered. I don't want to bust a spindle. So I tried them out for a little bit, and it shot the grass really far, much farther than my OEM blades. But point being said was, I think all these mowers, Greg, because we've gotten the opportunity to demo like all of these mowers, and it's been kind of an eye opener to see. And I guess depending on the region of where these guys are manufacturing mowers, they probably have all these mowers just set for a default, so it can cut well in either cool season grass or the warm season grasses. It's been quite the trial and error, but I'm leaning on I'm really liking what Bobcat was doing with their air effects deck.
Yeah, the and one of the things you just mentioned something that's really important. Ron, when he was talking to us, he said, "You know what? I don't have anybody in Michigan testing out my mowers." And that's why he kind of wanted us to test this out just to see how it worked. Because I think he said they had people down in Georgia and Florida and such. But he said, I really wanted somebody in Michigan to try it out because our grass, I guess, is a little bit different and a little thicker than what some of these other guys are doing. So what they might be seeing at the other places. So that was one of the reasons why he wanted to have us try it out and see how it worked. But I like that mower. I'm it's one of those things that you and I both talked about switching possibly to a 52 instead of the 60, just because we like the way that cuts. And actually, when I was talking to the guys at Wheels and Blades, they said they're starting to see some guys coming in and asking for the 52s instead of the 61s. So,
well, I was making this comment to you though. I feel like the 52 maneuvered better on my lawns because my lawns can be kind of bermy and uneven, and even going around certain turns over all the years, like you do rut certain turns, like doing your perimeters and going around the house. I felt like the 52 hugged things better and it shaped the lawn better. 60 is probably the max. I don't think I would want to put a 72 on any of my lawns. I know Raleigh Spencer with the East Kentucky Lawn Care Bros podcast. Go check it out, guys. He had a 72. Was that a right mower, Greg? I think it was.
Yeah, he's got a 72-inch right, but he's got
big
big lawns.
He's going to be selling that because he didn't like it because it scalped because the blades were too long, and that's the thing. If I was getting too much scalpage and the blades would bend, that's a problem, guys. Longer blades, they're going to bend easily because they're not going to be as thick. But I'm thinking about it. Maybe this upcoming in the next couple years, maybe just getting a 52-inch multi-force deck and using that for cutting because it would. I mean. People could argue against this though too, but if you're having to do less double cuts because it can process the grass better, then that's where I'm going to go, and I could still save time. And what I've noticed though is where they set the pitch and the rake of the deck, so the height from the back to the front, there between the Skag, the Ferris, and I guess the Bobcat too, and the Still, the pitch was all pretty much level and not much of a there was not much pitch from back to front. And guys, the more I guess if you listen to the Joe listened to the show with Jeff Jones, he had says that you want to have that. He had said 8 inch, but I think it's like a 1/4 inch from the back to the front of the deck where it's higher there in the back. Because the more you get that pitch, you can create that suction of the grass to get it out. But with that though, Greg, too high of a pitch, you're going to be leaving stragglers. But all in all, it's been a really good experience of just investigating and looking at these other brands, because at the expo, it's a shame, but I understand they don't let you cut with the mowers there. You can just basically ride around with them.
Yeah. There's only, you can only cut it one time. And, but I think one of the things that you said though is important is the double cuts. And that's where I think, that's where in the conversations we have with some of these manufacturers is guys are having a hard time finding employees. And so they've been listening. They've been listening to us and the Toro guys. And when we spoke with Toro, they said they've started to switch over to 72-inch, or they built 72-inch standers because guys were having a hard time finding employees, so that they could take less time cutting lawns. And then the other thing they went to was the bigger engines, because now they don't have to double cut, because that's going to save them time if they can't find employees. So those are some of the factors that. Hopefully the manufacturers are starting to listen to some of the guys out here, especially the solo guys, so that we don't spend all our 12-hour days trying to cut lawns.
And to end it here quickly, Greg, I was talking with Cameron Duncan again about this. He listened to our tools episode last week, and he sent me a Facebook message, and he said this, because I actually texted you about this too, Greg. He goes, "Have you ever considered getting a Segway when you string trimmer, when you weed whip? Guys are using some Segways, the mini Segways and also the 9-bot 2s to actually stand on and to trim, and you can save time trimming that way. They run about $550 or a tad less than that. I was kind of reaching out to Segway. I think we have a local dealer here. I would like to demo one for a day, because if I can save a half a day or a full day trimming on a Segway, that would be nice, because Cameron was saying that you can swap out the tires and remove the fenders and create an off-road Segway to stand on something where you can go faster and trim. And I think that's a possibility. But the one drawback to me, though, Greg, my lawns aren't very flat, So going up stuff, I'm just afraid that I would lose control of something, and then you would just see me with a broken arm or a broken leg, and then Greg would just be like,
Really? Broken
what
trimmer.
you do? Yeah, I'd be like, what you? Yeah, broken trimmer. And but segue, guys, look it up though.
Is Cameron
guys,
using that?
Cameron was thinking about getting one, and I could see Cameron doing that because his lawns he cuts acreage and it's flat, and he's already got the autonomous doing all the work for him. I mean, Cameron spends more time at Subway and letting the autonomous ZK cut than he does actually mowing. I don't even know what he does half the time. It's an inside. If you listen to his podcast, guys, then you would know. I spend too much of my time going to the Rolling Stoves. It's a smash burger place here in Farmington Hills. Tell them the Turf Nerd sent you. If you got any local listeners, they won't even know what that is. But check that out though, guys.
Raleigh should look at that
Segway
Segway
9-bot 2. I would love the demo one, but guys, we hope you enjoy the show. Rate it if you would like, and it's really good to actually get the opportunity and do this with your dealers too. Don't think that just because we had a podcast, we had some street cred, maybe like a little bit, just be like, hey, my name is Bob Smith. I'm with so-and-so. Like, take out a couple of their different mowers. Try different. Don't just be loyal to one brand. I mean, I love Toro and Exmark, but after even riding Greg's 61 ZS 4000, I like that. I like what Bobcat's doing. There's some attributes of Skag that I liked. Even Ferris. I mean, that Ferris, they make a really good that suspension on the mowers was nice. And then even with the Wright, I'm gonna get the opportunity to demo that Wright Standard ZK61 again. I was very impressed with that, and there's no bias because Cameron runs them. So it's been really cool what we've been able to do, Greg, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. We've had some neat opportunities. We're going to get some video out for you guys here too pretty soon on probably all these, just to let you see what we've been able to uncover out there. So, for lack of a better word, but we've enjoyed having the opportunities. We've still got this Bobcat. We're going to be working with that for a few more weeks, and looks like they've gotten a couple of the bugs that came out or that they had on it. We've gotten those straightened out. So. That one I've been impressed with. I've enjoyed using that. You know, the odd part though is that the deck, because I'm so used to my 61. Oh yeah, and it's wider on the wheels, so you're used to, and you probably thought it too. Excuse me, where I notice that I'm not cutting as wide because I think I've got the coverage because deck doesn't go out as far. And so I got to make sure that I correct myself and make sure that I'm covering it correctly. So it's but I have liked it. I've found it to be a nice mower to work with.
Greg, that's a perfect wisdom bomb. Why don't you give us a little quick Father's Day flair prayer as we go to bed? Well, I mean, it's not late, but I'm gonna edit this and then go cry.
All right, Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for our time together here, and I want to pray for the fathers out there that they're going to be hearing this hopefully tomorrow and over the next few days. But Lord, I pray for the fathers out there that you've blessed with their businesses and their families, and I pray that they'll be their father first, and follow you first, father second, and then take care of their businesses third. But Lord, I pray that we have the right mindset that we need to do our jobs. Help us to deal with clients that we may have some issues with here and there, but help us to have the right spirit to engage with them and talk with them about life and what we can do for them. Bless you, or bless our time here this week, Lord, and keep us all safe. And thank you again for the opportunities that we've had. In Jesus' name, amen.